Good morning. This is Adrian, and I want to do a quick sound check before we get started. If somebody could type into the chat box that you can hear me, that would be great. The chat box is on the left-hand side. Fantastic. Thank you, Kelly. I am so glad to have you here today to talk about volunteer recruitment and management. And what I'm noticing, I think that there are a few more people who will plan to join at some point. What I'm noticing right now is that those who are on the line are in the Portland metro area. And I think this will be helpful for everybody across the state, but particularly helpful for those in metro areas where a large number of schools are possibly tapping into the same group of volunteers. And so we think that using this particular volunteer management system, VolunteerSpot, will help those volunteers that you might be tapping into to better organize themselves and volunteer in multiple places if that's what they'd like to do. So I'm really glad that you're participating and learning how to use this system. If you tried this system last year, I just want to give you a heads up that they've changed and made the system so much more user friendly. So I think it's going to be even easier this year than it might have been for those who tried VolunteerSpot last year. So I think we're in good shape. My goal for today is to talk first a little bit about why you need volunteers, just in case that's not yet clear to you, how we think you might be able to use those volunteers, and what the benefit is to you and to your students to have them. And then I'm really going to do some just step by step. Here's how the VolunteerSpot program works, the management tool works, and show you how to set up your own sign up sheets there in a way that should be, I hope, easy for you and super useful in actually capturing some potential volunteers and keeping them managed in terms of signups. So we'll go ahead and get started by talking first about why using volunteers is important. We think that they are critical to your success. We recommend that you have one adult for every 5 to 7 students. That's about what we've been hearing from site coordinators over the past few years. We think they're important because they engage communities in the schools for a positive reason. They highlight adult mentors. Volunteers can reinforce the importance of continuing education, and they bring additional resources to the task, not only for College Application Week initiative, but for other school efforts as well. So we have seen over the course of the last few years that volunteers who arrive at the school for the first time as a College Application Week volunteer find that they like being there and are interested in volunteering in other ways, particularly in a college and career center environment. So we think that using volunteers for this effort might actually bring more volunteers to the table for other efforts. We think that it is really important that when you're looking for volunteers, you're casting a wide net. This is one of my very favorite pictures of a volunteer, and it's because of who's in the photo. If you're not from Lincoln City, you might not know that the gentleman on the right is the mayor of Lincoln City. And at their very first event in the pilot year of 2012, he was invited to come and participate on the first day, and he did and loved it so much he came back every day and has been back, I believe, every year since. So cast a wide net. Ask a variety of different people to participate in your event. You could ask, here are some examples of some folks who might be good to ask: college admissions representatives, financial aid officers, college access professionals, retired teachers, local business and political leaders like the mayor, parents, college students, really anybody. What we are strongly encouraging you do is to think about who you're inviting and to match their specific skill set to the task that you're asking them to complete. So for example, as we continue to grow the program across the state, we know that college admissions personnel in particular are being asked to help in events at a greater degree than maybe some others. So what we're asking is that, and what we have told them is that what we really hope coordinators are doing is asking them to complete tasks that nobody else could do, that they are specially trained to do. So providing presentations about the college application process, for example. So thinking about who you can match. If somebody has a particular skill set related to college applications, asking them to perform that duty during your event, we think is really important. Because it is also the case that most people who have filled out a form before will be able to help students with some of the most important pieces of your event. Things like asking questions or answering questions that students might have. If you've done this before, then you know that some of the most common questions that are asked aren't really specific to college applications at all, but are about how to fill out a form or what certain words mean, or are just about having someone there to encourage them and keep them moving along in the task. So just about anybody is capable of answering those kinds of questions. And the more volunteers you have able to answer those kinds of questions, the better able you and others with specific expertise are to answer the more difficult questions or the specific college application questions. I hope that makes sense. And I also want to say, I didn't say this at the beginning, but if you have questions, I think you know this is in listen only mode, and so you aren't able to speak your question, but certainly feel free to use that text or chat box function, and I'll keep an eye on that to make sure that we're getting your questions answered as we go. It's also important as you are thinking about your volunteers that you offer a variety of tasks. We've got some ideas, but you may have some others as well. If you are having a fairly large event or an open house, you might have a volunteer who is there to greet students. Again, volunteers can answer questions. If it's appropriate, they might be able to do some presentations. So for example, I know last year at Park Rose High School, somebody from Mount Hood Community College came out to talk about community colleges. Not about Mount Hood, but just about community colleges in general. And he was the perfect person for that as a representative from a community college. So using folks to do those kinds of presentations. You'll have sign-in sheets so that you make sure that you know how many students participate and how many applications they complete. And so you might have a volunteer who manages those sign-in sheets to make sure that you're getting all of your students signed in. You might have volunteers remind students to complete the student survey or to sit down and just be a motivational person who says, you can do this, and provide the encouragement that students might need to keep going. So there's a variety of different tasks that they might do. We have on the Oregon Goes to College website, in the College Application Week section, there is a whole series of online tools for you and for volunteers. So this is a screenshot of the beginning of a video that is specific to volunteers. It answers some questions related to just frequently asked questions that volunteers might have, gives them a little bit of a background on what the program is, and some ideas about the kinds of things they might be doing. The website also contains a volunteer resource guide that has much of the same information as the video, so folks who like to read sometimes will prefer to download that. And then in the coordinator tools, we also provide a sample agenda for a volunteer orientation meeting if you were interested in doing that. And I know, for example, Beaverton High School last year did do, they had so many volunteers that arrived. I can't remember the number, but it was tens of volunteers. And they hosted a very brief orientation session prior to their event starting. And there we do have a sample agenda if that's something that you're interested in doing. And of course, we also have online tools that will help you to recruit volunteers. So there's both a volunteer recruitment letter template that you can fill out with your own specific information, there's also a thank you follow-up letter there. And we also have a flyer that you could, for example, maybe send home with students or something if you were interested in having volunteers, families or parents volunteer for your event. So there's a number of different tools online that you can use to recruit your volunteers. And then, of course, the biggest online tool that we have is in the management of volunteers. So I'd like to talk a little bit about that, but first I want to give you a chance to ask any questions you might have about why volunteers are important. So I'll stop for just a moment to give you time to type in any questions you might have about that. You're convinced. You're convinced that they're important. So we'll just get into the volunteer management system, VolunteerSpot. This is what we're recommending that folks use to as a volunteer sign-up tool. And we like it so much, and we think that it's so helpful for a large-scale event on this statewide level that we actually have purchased a premium account and are sharing the code with you. What that allows is for you to create all of your signups, and if your times that you need volunteers are times when you need or are looking for potentially additional volunteers from what you already have, and you'd be open to having other folks come in. So we've been talking with a variety of different people, including college staff and community members who are interested in volunteering but don't have a connection to a school already. If you're interested in tapping into that resource, using VolunteerSpot and connecting your signups to the larger statewide community will allow those people to come in and see what you have available or sign up for your school. So we recommend using this, and I'll show you how to do that. Unfortunately, once you sign up, you can't unsign up, and I don't want to sign up multiple. You can't delete your account, and I don't want to sign up multiple times. So I have a few screenshots, and then we'll go in that I want to show you in terms of the sign up piece, and then I'll share my screen with you and show you step by step how to create a sign up. But if you've never been to VolunteerSpot before, this is the home page. Yeah, Kelly's asking if volunteers need to have a background check or whether that's dependent on the school district. It's totally dependent on your school district. And so we know that in some school districts you might need a background check for anybody who walks into your building. We know that in some you might need a background check if they're going to be alone with students, but we don't imagine that that will ever happen during college application week. And in others, it's not required at all. So you are going to need to know the rules within your school or district. It's a good question. So this is the screenshot of the homepage for VolunteerSpot, and you'll sign up just as you would basically for any other free account that you might do, and you'll click on register, or you could sign in with Facebook if that's something that you're interested in. If you are not going to sign in with Facebook, you would enter the information in those boxes. So you can see here that I've got my name there, and I would then click Start Planning. That will pop up a video, which we are not going to watch right now, but the video is helpful and does show you how to go through these steps. What it doesn't do is teach you how to connect to the premium account or how to get your page showing up on the overall Oregon Goes to College or Oregon College Application Week page. So you might want to watch the video at some point, but we're going to go ahead and skip that because it doesn't do the two things that you need in order to be part of the bigger statewide effort. You'll complete your profile. There's some information here. You're going to choose that you are wanting to organize signups. You'll have so you'll make that choice. And then here's the part that's different. You'll scroll down a little bit, and under account type, you could choose complimentary. That's fine. But if you want to connect with us, you're going to upgrade to the premium account by entering a promo code. When you click on that button, you'll have the opportunity. There's a price list there. You can ignore that. You're going to enter the promo code, which is going to connect you to us. And you can see the promo code there on the screen. And that's the code that will connect you to Oregon Goes to College and Oregon College Application Week. So take note of that. I'll give you a couple minutes to write that down. Or if you're in the system now signing up, to do that there. And once you have, you will find that you have a successful premium upgrade, and we are certain that we have enough upgrades available that everyone should be able to do that. If for some reason we overload the system, let me know, but I don't think that will happen. Okay, so now I'm going to move over to sharing my desktop so that we can go through the process together of how to go ahead and do this. When you're on your screen, you'll have a dashboard option. So even from that last screenshot that I just showed you, you should have a menu for a dashboard. And so if you click on that, it'll get you to the dashboard. And what you can see here is that I have a number of signups already, and most of these are sample signups. But if once you get multiple signups or even just one, you'll start to see some of these kinds of things. You'll want to click. And actually, let me show you, before we go anywhere, let me show you what the group page looks like. When you go through the process that we're about to go through right now, and you connect your sign up to the larger Oregon College Application Week sign up page, it's going to show up on this list, on this particular page. And this is the link that we'll provide to anybody that we're reaching out to encourage volunteers at events. And so they would come directly here, and it would give them an opportunity. And these again are samples. We don't have any real signups yet, but these again, they would come here and they would find the school that they were interested in signing up at, and they could click to then figure out what's available to them. So that's where your sign up will show up for folks to see. So when you are in your dashboard, you're going to create a new sign up. And we'll go ahead and do that right now. You are going to choose single or multiple days because you're working on an event that is at a particular time. You can choose any category you want. I think that this is a tool that's designed for nonprofits and schools, and so you can see that sort of, those are the genres that show up here. I would recommend class or school sign up for this particular one, or other, but whatever you think it fits for you is fine. It doesn't change what your sheet looks like. Under name, we're asking that everybody use the same format so that when our volunteers come, or when we send out a message saying, hey, we've got some volunteer opportunities, everybody knows. It all looks similar on that larger group page. And so what we're asking is that you type in the name of your city. So for example, if you are in Portland, you would type Portland. If you are in Beaverton, you would type Beaverton, a colon, and then the name of the high school. So I know that Kelly is on the call from Madison, and so yours would look like Portland Madison High School. And what that will allow people to do as their, what it'll allow us to do on our end is to organize that group page alphabetically by city, so that somebody who's interested in volunteering in a particular part of the state will easily be able to find their geographical area by going to cities in that area. So again, city and then the name of your high school. Welcome message, it can be anything you want, but something short and sweet. And I'm just going to choose this one. We need volunteers for college application week. For a location, because you've already named your high school, what I would recommend here is that you maybe give the address of your high school, or you tell them where within the school you'll be meeting. And so I'm going to say, oh, we're going to be in the library. So that's where somebody would come. For checking off boxes, I don't necessarily know that it matters that people can see who else has signed up or commented, but I do think that it might be good to allow people to swap spots. If somebody signs up and then discovers that they're not available during the time that they signed up for, but somebody else has a time that they're interested in, then it would allow them to swap. Doesn't matter. You can choose whatever makes sense for you. We don't need people to be consistent on that necessarily. Under organizer information, your name should pop up, as should your email address. You could change it if you wanted to. If you want to share what your title is, you could go ahead and do that here. That might help your volunteers know who they're talking to. And if you would like people to be able to reach you by phone, then entering your phone number here is not a bad idea. So pretty simple. And then you have the opportunity to ask for information from your participants. Anybody who signs up to volunteer or to use a sign-up sheet through VolunteerSpot is going to be required to enter their full name, their email address, and their phone number. That's required by VolunteerSpot. But you could add more fields if you wanted. So for example, if you wanted to know, oh, I didn't mean to do that. If you wanted to know, for example, if somebody had a particular expertise that they wanted to be able to share during the event, you could ask that. And so I might type in something like, do you have any special skills related to college applications? And I could choose to require that question, or I could choose not to. So this is just my basic overall. This is the basic information about my college application week event. And when we click next, it will save that and then bring us to a calendar where we can begin to add our sign-up sheets. And I'm going to pull up on my screen really quickly to see if we have any questions. And I can't see them, so I'm thinking we don't have any. But if you do have questions, go ahead and feel free to type them in, and we'll hopefully be able to get back to them at some point. And so I'll just keep going here. So the calendar shows up, and of course, like on any other calendar operation, it will bring you to the month that you are currently in. But because we're looking for November, we'll just click over to November, and I'm going to pretend that my event, my college application week event, is happening during the month of, or the week of November 9th. And that I'm going to have a need for volunteers on the 9th. And so I'm going to click in that box and choose that I need people to do or attend something. So that works for me. And I think for the first type of sign up that I want somebody who is going to be there as a floater. I'm going to need several floaters, and those I'm going to imagine are people who are there available to answer questions that students might have. Again, it's happening on November 9th. And I think that I'm going to have maybe 15 students at any given time, and I know that I should have one adult for every 5 to 7 students, so I could have up to 3 people signing up for that. Your choice, whatever it is that you think you might need. And I want them to come at a particular time. And actually, I'm going to have some shifts available for them. So our event is going to start at 8:30 in the morning, and I think that people might be willing to stay for 2 hours. And so I'm going to type in a 2-hour shift. If somebody was interested in staying for longer than that, then they would just sign up for multiple shifts. Do I have a series of spots like this? I absolutely do. And so I'm going to click that I want to autofill. And what this allows me to do is create those shifts. And so I have one that was starting at 8:30 to 10:30, and so that one's already done. This is going to allow me to start at 10:30 and go through to the end of our event. And let's pretend that our event ends at 2:30. And that's going to, you can see over here in results, it's going to create 2 more time spots where I also am looking for 3 volunteers in each of those times. I don't need a break between spots, and so I'm going to leave this part blank. Click apply, and I now have, you can see here, signups available during from 8:30 to 10:30, and then again 2 more from 10:30 to 12:30 and 12:30 to 2:30. If I had additional details that I wanted to share with people, I could have them do that. I could write those in here if I wanted to. When I click save, I now have Monday some volunteer opportunities available on Monday, and so I can, and it tells me that I actually have 9 spots available for volunteers, 3 in each of those 3 spots. And so I say okay. But I'm not done with November 9th yet. I also want somebody who's going to be there to help me set up, because that's the first day of the event. So I want someone there to help me sign up. So I'm clicking on that again, and I'm going to create a new spot. Again, I need somebody to do something, and I'm going to call that setup, help set up. So I choose that. It again is at that time, and it has a start time, but not necessarily an end time. And I'm going to choose 8 a.m. as the start time. I just need one person. And I think that I'm going to want somebody there to help me set up every day. So I choose repeating pattern. And I want that to happen every day, daily, every single day, until Thursday, which is the last day of my event. So that's going to get me some volunteers sign up opportunities Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. When I click apply, it tells me again up here what I've just done. I click save, and I now have volunteer spots available on each of those days. And so before you come into, you can come back to this multiple times, even after you've uploaded it to the group page. But what I would recommend is that when you come to fill out your volunteer needs, that you have a list of what you think you're going to need in terms of when and how many volunteers you need on which days. So let's imagine that I have completed all of the different volunteer opportunities that I might need. And go ahead and click next. If I wanted to, I could add a logo or a theme to this. I'm not going to choose to do that, but you could if you wanted to put in like your school mascot or something like that. Because what you'll end up with here, I'm again going to show you how to connect it back to the larger page, but you could also share this with your own volunteers and just send them directly to your page and not to the larger group page. So if you wanted to have some fancy look to that, you could do that. So we're going to skip that, but you could fill that in if you wanted to. So your sign up is planned. You will get a an email message in your inbox that shows what a draft invitation for what your participants might see. You could choose to invite people to sign up, and there are templates for sending emails. You could get a link so that you could just post that particular link on your website or in a newsletter or something like that. You have the opportunity to post on social media, so you could choose to do that on Facebook or Twitter or on Pinterest to get some more interest if you've got, for example, a school Facebook page that people are paying attention to. Or you could add a button to your website if you have a website that you have access to that you could enter an HTML code, and that will take folks directly to your sign-up sheet. Okay, so that's the basics of how to set it up just to get the piece or just to get the your signups there. But now we want to go back to the dashboard and make sure that okay, so here it is on my dashboard. This is it right here. If I wanted to go in and change anything, I would click Manage, and it will bring up exactly that calendar view that we had before. Okay. If I go to Organize and I click on my signups, that's another way to get back to that same spot. So I'm going to again click on Manage here in the event we just tried. And you can see at the top we've got a number of menu options, and some of these are going to be this is where you'll be able to do things like see who has signed up for a particular spot, for example. This will get us back to the calendar. Spots brings you back to the calendar. Participants will show you who has signed up when you have signups. Under settings, this is the key part to get you to publish to the group page. So you click publish to group page here. And because you have connected your account to our premium account, when you pull down on group page, you're going to see Oregon College Application Week 2015. And you'll see my name there. It will always say my name as the owner of that page. It's not saying that just because I'm in my account right now. So it will always say Adrienne Enriquez, and when you click on that, it says we have success. You're now on the on that page, and we can verify that by going to the My Groups tab and clicking to see. So you will then be able to see all of the different events available there, and you'll click on that. And you can see that the one we just made, which was this City High School, please come volunteer for CAW, and we know that this is ours because it was from November 9th until November 13th, is now on the page just as we had hoped for. So I'm going to go back to I'm going to click back in here to get back to our details and show you a few other things that might be helpful to you. When you click on reports, you'll have the opportunity to actually download some reports. So you'll see all of the different volunteer opportunities that you have and who has signed up for them. You'll also have the opportunity to print a sign-up or a check-in sheet, so you can easily manage your volunteers that way. One of the things that we're going to be asking of you in your follow-up data is how many volunteers you had and how many hours they were there. You can actually download that information without having to keep track of it yourself, as long as you've used VolunteerSpot and all of your volunteers have as well. That will show up there. So that's fantastic. Under invite, again, this will go back to that. If you didn't go through the process of getting a link to share it or connecting it to Facebook or Twitter or sending an email through the system, you can, when you had that opportunity before you clicked complete, you can go back and do all of those same things here through the invite button. And then the one other thing that I'd like to show you, I think, and unless we have some questions, is in details. You now have a new option under organizer information. And that is that you could change who the primary organizer is, or you could add assistant organizers. So if you had other people that you were interested in participating, you can do that under assistant organizer so that you have more people who can, like if you've got a co-coordinator, for example, who's helping you with volunteer management, you could do that there. So, I think those are the big pieces that when you come back and you'll have your signups, you'll have a variety of different options. Some of these are left over from last year. You can organize these by title, by alphabetically by title or by the start date. And so the most recent one to show up is the one that we just did now because that will be coming up soonest. The others you can see are from last year. So I am going to take us back into, stop sharing my screen so that I can see any questions you might have, and take any of those questions now, or if there's something you're hoping for. Oh, the other thing, please do feel free to write in a question if you have it. But the other thing that I wanted to show or let you know is that one of the great things I think about VolunteerSpot, and in fact, let's go back to it, is that you have the opportunity when you're in your event to send reminders. Let's see. You have the opportunity that it will automatically send reminders for you if you, and in fact, it's just automatically set up to do that for you. Let's click on this one. Which is great. You don't have to remember to do that. You can also set it up so that people will give you, will share with you information about, like if they have to cancel, or if you have to cancel a spot, it'll automatically do that for you. So if you go into messages, no, I'm sorry, that is not correct. If you go into email preferences, under settings, email preferences, you have the opportunity to send reminders to participants, and this will do it automatically. It will just send them a message saying, hey, don't forget you're volunteering, and you can choose how far in advance you would like that to happen. It's automatically set for 2 days before. You can, if you change an event, anybody who has already signed up for your event will receive a message or not, your choice, that you've changed your volunteer opportunities, and so that will happen automatically as well. If people leave comments for you, you can choose to have those sent to you by email either every at the moment that happens or once per day. If you want to be notified when somebody signs up, this is your time when you can figure, if you want to get emails so that you can track that without having to come into VolunteerSpot, you have the opportunity to do that. It will notify you if somebody cancels, and so you can choose if you want them to do that no matter when somebody has canceled, or if you only want them to let you know that somebody's canceled after you have sent a reminder to participants. And it is automatically set to sign you up, or to let you know when your sign up is full and you have all the volunteers you need. But you could change that to no if you don't want to be notified about that. So this is a fantastic tool for you so that you don't have to keep too much track of who your volunteers are and when they're coming. And again, you have the opportunity in reports to actually look at who's coming. Because we don't have any signups, it won't show us anything if we were to click on it, but it would show all of the, let's click and see. And it'll show us, we don't have any signups, but it'll show us all of the tasks that are available, how many volunteers we have, and how many spots have been filled or open. And I think that is what I have. So let's go back and see if there were any questions. And if there are no questions, then I encourage you to take a look, sign up, check things out, see what you think. And if you do have questions, feel free to give me a call or send me an email, and I will put that up on the screen now in case you would like to see. There's my email address and phone number in case you have questions and want a little bit more help or want to walk through this a little bit more. But I strongly encourage the use of VolunteerSpot as a way to manage your volunteers and to connect back to the larger statewide efforts. So thank you so much, and I'll look forward to hearing from you and seeing how your events go.